We have a Jim Cramer segment. Jim Cramer is good for Friday mornings. You know, a nice Friday morning laugh with Jim Cramer. So we got a couple of videos and then an article. So we got basically a setup and a punchline. That's how these Cramer segments are typically structured. Setup and punchline. So Russell, go.
And he makes it easy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. So our old friend Jim Cramer has once again done his Amber Heard routine. In other words, he shit the bed again. So Cramer 1 year ago very famously told everybody that they were stupid if they owned crypto. So let's take a look at that. At that time, Bitcoin had just like really tanked post-pandemic. It was at 16,000 and change. So let's take a look at what he had to say.
I think that crypto, I sold all my crypto. I announced everything on TV, what I did with crypto. But I would not touch crypto in a million years because I wouldn't trust the deposit bank.
And you're making no distinction between centralized, decentralized.
They fought regulation. They didn't want regulation, and you don't have regulation. So if you have your money in any of those, look, I'm not calling you an idiot. I'm just saying you're using a lot of blind faith. And I like to have my money at JP Morgan. And I check on Monday to see whether my balance is there. It's there. It feels good. Try getting your money out. When I had money, I'm not going to mention the firm that I had my money in, but it was a fight to get the money out. A fight. And I think that everybody who owns these various coins, Solana, Litecoin, I do think you're an idiot. Okay? I did not go to college to get stupid. These people who own these things should not own them. They shouldn't own them.
You need to ask your college for a refund there, my friend.
So that was Jim Cramer when.
I think.
Hang on. So what was the price of
was it about 16? Yeah,
it was 16,816. So if you had listened to Jim Cramer, you would have lost an almost 200% gain from that level because Bitcoin spiked to, I think it was 45. I think it might have even gone as high as 48 over the last month. So if you were a Bitcoin holder and you panicked because Jim Cramer told you were an idiot to hold Bitcoin, you missed out on almost tripling your money.
Yeah, so you can see at the top of that chart, that's what Russ is referring to. Bitcoin value there is 16,816. All right, yes. So that was about a year ago.
That was about a year ago, and Bitcoin went on one of its periodic remarkable runs from there. So this was Jim Cramer last week.
This thing is, you can't kill it.
No, you can't.
And the late Charlie Munger, who was so brilliant on so many things, was blind to this. Now you can say, wait a second, maybe
Charlie Munger was blind to
it. Not spared any negative words.
No, but look, I mean, it's a reality and it's a technological marvel, and I think people have to start recognizing that it's here to stay. The SEC's been against it almost the whole time.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean that every one of these is here to stay, but I do think that this is a remarkable comeback that was unexpected, except for all the bulls who turned out to be right.
Gensler does a lot of jawboning.
Didn't work.
Okay, all right. So that's very interesting. Projecting that onto poor dead Charlie Munger. Oh yeah, Charlie didn't see it like I did. I saw this coming, but Charlie, he was blind to it. Well, you called people who were holding it idiots.
Right.
Idiots when it was at 16,000. So some of you might know there is literally a fund called the Inverse Cramer, because Cramer so often is a counter indicator of trends. So Bitcoin's hot streak abruptly ends after Jim Cramer calls it a marvel. Bitcoin's
enthusiasm music,
Bitcoin's price suddenly fell 8% due to uncertainty around regulatory approvals on Wednesday, right after Cramer finally praised it. There's an oft-repeated mantra in online investing circles: do the opposite of whatever Jim Mad Money Cramer says. The TV stock market pundit has such a poor track record that there's even a real investment fund called Inverse Cramer. So when Cramer backpedaled on years of putting down Bitcoin on Tuesday morning by calling it a technological marvel that's here to stay amid a hot streak that saw the price of one Bitcoin rise to 45,000, investors saw a fall on the horizon. Immediately, the price of Bitcoin fell from its high of 45,000 to roughly 41,000. It was a precipitous fall of 8% that triggered about 400 million in liquidations, according to CoinDesk. It would be inadvisable to put too much stock into how much influence Cramer's predictions have on the price of any asset, including Bitcoin. But it is undoubtedly funny and further shores up the inverse Cramer investment thesis. In reality, sharp pullback and recovery is a frequent occurrence in Bitcoin as investors seek to sell at what might be the top and often buy back in at a lower price. Did Cramer's statements add, even in a small way, to this ineffable mass sentiment? Or did he merely fail to read the room in spectacular fashion, as he is known to do? It's difficult to say. A more concrete explanation for the sell-off is increasing uncertainty around whether several Bitcoin spot exchange traded funds, ETFs, which would allow investors to track the price of Bitcoin without actually purchasing it, will be approved by regulators this month. Investors have been extremely hopeful that these ETFs, with financial experts saying as recently as Tuesday that some will likely be approved. The main source of doubt appears to be a report by crypto firm Matrixport, which circulated early Wednesday morning and stated that the ETFs will likely be denied. For better or for worse, depending on your outlook, Cramer is likely right that Bitcoin isn't going away anytime soon, something that Motherboard has maintained over the years throughout the crypto industry's many ups and downs. Okay, so I didn't think this, but so full disclosure, I hold some crypto, not a lot, a little bit. I'm somebody who's more, if you know, in the gold rush, the people who really made the money were the people who sold picks and pans. I tend to go more that way. So I hold a Bitcoin mining company. But even there, like, not a lot. I have always, and that is not to be construed as investing advice. I have always had the thesis that that crypto is more like fine art. It's worth what you think it's worth. I do not feel, at least in its current form, that it is useful as a currency. Blockchain technology may be useful, but that's a separate issue. In terms of crypto itself, as long as its price is that unstable, it is not useful as a day-to-day currency. And unless that changes, unless you get forms of crypto that are, it's a Picasso. What do you think it's worth? It's worth as much as you think it's worth. So does that mean it's going away tomorrow? No. Is it monopoly money? Yeah. And a lot of people will say, well, all money's monopoly money. Not really, when a money is being backed by the full faith and credit of an entire government with a military, with an economy. It's based on something. This is literally just ephemeral digital fantasy. You know, it exists because people believe in it, and that's all I see. But like I said, I mean, hey, you know, if you can make money off it, fine. But it's a very small holding. I never put a lot into it because I always felt, shit, if people ever wake up and say, holy shit, this is like I'm collecting fucking stamps as currency, that's going to be the end of the crypto market. But Jim Cramer just really has an incredible knack for taking these bold stands right the moment before there's a major sea change, as we did a segment on this right before the financial crisis. Don't sell Bear Stearns. Now you're just being silly. You don't be silly. Fucking that shit got wiped out the next week. So he's just got an incredible knack.
Yeah, he had a whole year
saying the wrong thing at the wrong time.
He had a whole year. There was a year window where Bitcoin was on the rise. If at any point over the course of that year he had that light bulb moment, he would have looked all right. Instead, literally like 2 days before.
2 days before it tanks.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
Like immediately fucking collapsed 8%.
Yeah.
So no, it's just he has this knack for saying these things right before there's a major change in the market that is exactly the opposite of what he told people to do.
Yeah, we did a segment a while back when he was praising Sam Bankman-Fried, like right before.
He did that with Elizabeth Holmes too.
Elizabeth Holmes too. Yeah, exactly.
That was one of the most cringy interviews because he's like sweating and very kowtowing to her.
Right.
Yeah, I know how you guys move out here. You like to move fast and break things.
Yeah.
And she's just sitting there with her fucking, with her
Do the deep
sociopathic
voice.
stare.
Sound more like a man.
Yes, well, I appreciate your work too. It's like the creepiest combination of personalities. Another Cramer classic.
Another Cramer classic in the can.
Please clap.